Hey, it's Dave and Bill, and we're going to be continuing this discussion about on-court coaching and how you can either sabotage a player or a team's on-court performance, or how you can actually contribute and actually lift them in such a way that they either overcome a detrimental being behind in the match, or whether or not they've got a match in their pocket and you want to make sure they don't get overconfident or start changing the momentum. One thing I'm going to mention here is that momentum in a tennis match can change. I actually write about what's called momentum shifts in each of my books. And momentum shifts are basically things where you have a very strange point, either a huge winner behind the back, angle volley, lob winners, ace, whatever, and you follow it with another good winning point. When you do that, you have a complete, what I call a complete momentum shift. But we're going to talk about ways that you can help improve the chances that if your player is losing, how you can get them to recognize when those momentum shifts can occur and how to maximize their opportunity. So, Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about some of the things that you do on the court that really help keep your players in that moment of present mind and help them make that transition to winning more and more points as you go.
Okay. Are we talking about the four things not to do, or do you want to go?
Well, okay, I kind of got off a little tangent.
I'm ready. Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, so when I'm going to talk to my players, there are a couple of things that I'm looking to do. I want to address some mental and emotional. I want to address tactical, and I might remind them of one technical thing if it's something that they've been working on and are near mastering and they just need a quick reminder. But any more technical advice than that would be ruinous. All right. So the mental and emotional. So when I come out there, I generally say, hey, how's your intensity? Because we talk a lot about intensity. We want to have the maximum amount of energy, but we want it to be measured. So, we want to be at a peak with our physical intensity, not too tight, not too loose, right? And then we talk about, how's your thinking? Are you really focused on what you're trying to do in the match? And then we'll talk about tactics. And it's one of the most powerful things that you can do is point your player towards the relative weakness of their opponent. And sometimes, and as you go up the levels, that gets harder and harder to find. Right. So, sometimes I've just come out and said, now remember that this player's backhand is not their strength, right? So use your forehand against their backhand whenever you can. And in other cases, it's, okay, this guy has a world-class overhead and a world-class backhand volley, and his forehand volley, he doesn't finish quite as well. So I want that initial pass to go to that low to that forehand volley and then look to pick off the next shot, because sometimes they forget. I've had one of my best players ever in a match playing the game plan perfectly, playing at somebody ranked 50 spots higher. He's beating him, but for 2 games, he went off track. So I just had to remind him, hey, remember the game plan, right? You should play this way and this way, because if you play that way, that will happen again.
Well, and then kind of playing off what you just mentioned about excitement and leveling, keeping yourself calm. One of the things I always, in training and reminders on the court, is I always tell my players, don't get so pumped up you have nowhere to go but down. And that's as often, I see that so often, players, they've got a 4-love lead and they're all pumped up, and then they lose 2 points. And there's now a question, we should be killing these guys. We're up 4-love. And then they start questioning themselves. They start wondering, oh gosh, are these guys going to come back? Once you get an opponent thinking that way, you've got them, because they're no longer the present. They're worried about losing a match they were headed. And so one of the things I always tell my players is, you can do a fist pump, you can do a high five, but don't get so emotionally wrapped up into a point or a game or a set that you have nowhere to go but down. Leave room to keep going up. And I think in this picture, I'm actually talking to my number one singles player who was down in a match. And I very calmly, I just put my hand on her forearm. I just said, Morgan, you know what? This is not your game. You're just playing into hers. And I actually did what you did, Bill. We focused only on one thing and one thing only, and that was just slice to her forehand. The girl had a full Western grip, and once Morgan started slicing to her forehand, the girl started framing ball after ball after ball. And we've talked about that in clinics or in workshops about full Western grips and the downside of that grip. So here she had a weapon to focus on instead of losing the match. She comes back and wins this match pretty handily, I think 6-2 in the third. So you don't want to pump your players up, or you as a coach walk out there and high five. Yeah, you guys are doing great, blah, blah, blah. And now you become so pumped up that they have nowhere to go but down.
Yeah, we do the high one finger through the fence. We'll do that. Here, give me a high one. Doing.
Yep.
Oh, where'd you go? Are you still there?
I'm here. Yeah.
And we have we have match goals that we go into every match. So we before every match, we say this. So we'll go over who's playing what position, and then we'll have we have finished our warm-up routine, and it's the 5 minutes before we're going to do introductions, and my team altogether says this: today, confidence is my biggest weapon. I will give 100% effort, enjoy the competition, show myself strong and wise, and learn from every match. I get 65% of my first serves in play, my feet in position for every shot, and continually pressure my opponent. I love a tough match. And so this is something we do every time. And then what that's done is it's created a template for me to go on the changeover and address those things. So I might say, hey, are you playing confidently? Are you giving 100% effort? Are you enjoying the competition? Right? And then if so, why or why not? How are you strong and wise? It looks like there have been some bad calls here. Are you going to call for a lines person? Because I can't call it for you. You have to initiate that.
Right.
So if you see another call, will you please call for one, or do you want to call for one now?
Yep.
So, and then I save the learning until after, because I don't want them to be thinking too hard during the match. But after the match, then we'll get into, okay, what did you learn from playing that match about yourself or your opponent? And that's a really big thing. But that template gives me already made ways to enter into a conversation with my players.
Yeah, I really like that idea, because a lot of coaches, they either have so many things on their mind that they walk out there and then they don't know the hierarchy of what they want to share, and they're probably sharing too much anyway. The idea here, of course, is to let the players know that you are fully believe in them. And the learning part, you're absolutely right, Bill. I mean, if you're trying to teach a player a stroke element during a match, that ain't the place. I mean, you're not doing your job in preparing those players. Obviously, the higher level players, you're going to have young JV and younger players that are probably doing a million things wrong, but you're not going to correct them in the match. All you can control really in the match is their emotional foundation, in terms of getting them back centered and getting them to focus only on, and we talk a lot about how those momentum shifts can occur. So my players know when to recognize if a momentum shift is occurring and how to maximize and take advantage of it. So folks, you've got to really just tell your kids, believe in yourselves, enjoy the moment, as my two players are here right before winning their state title themselves. And quite frankly, giving them the belief that they can either come from behind or close out a match, and have key words like Bill just said, that you can know that they're going to trigger your players into a positive reaction on the court.
And that's a wrap.
And that's a wrap.